Today after breakfast, Arsalon and I wanted to verify the conference area and found an interesting discovery. Nobody on campus knew where Building 10 was. We had lots of people help us, from students to campus security guards, but no one knew for sure. Signs showed everything but 10, except for one that pointed back to our hotel. I finally walked around our building and came across a small number 10 and knew it had to be our building. The only thing was, the hotel lobby attendants didn't know anything until Arsalon and I questioned the people running the floor where conference rooms were located. We eventually confirmed that this was the place as they were setting up the room and a buffet for lunch. And soon later, registration was started with lots of students in the lobby. I was looking forward of hearing about synbiobeta biology, its industry, and how China is playing a role in the new industrial revolution. After the conference, we took a taxi to the train station that was shared with one of the industry leaders that Arsalon had networked with, and told wonderful stories about his personal experiences. We next sped off in the rain to Shanghai on a 5-hour high-speed train with a peak speed of 180 miles per hour that was so smooth and comfortable.
Both Twist and GenScript, and also Analytic Yana and Wuxi Qinglan Biopharmaceuticals. I hope that you have a chance to visit their exhibit tables at the back. My name is John Cumbers, and I'm the founder of synbiobeta. And I've been wanting to do an event in China for the last 2 years, and it's taken just about that much planning to pull this all together. So thank you to the team of staff and volunteers who've been extremely helpful in making this happen. We're doing 3 events this week that you may have seen. The first one here at Tsinghua. Then on Thursday we're going to be at Shanghai Jiaotong University, and on Friday we're going to be in Shenzhen at the Shenzhen Institute for Advanced Technologies. We always base our events around strong academic institutions because we strongly believe that the next companies are being spun out from the great research that's happening at the universities. And there's a lot of great research happening at the universities here in China. The goal of this meeting, and the reason that we're here, is to foster the entrepreneurial ecosystem in China. A lot of you are the young entrepreneurs who are going to start new companies, spin out new technologies, and see some of the benefits that synthetic biology can provide in the world through great applications that you're going to be able to produce.
And then this year, I was told that we will have 2,000 million RMB for the synthetic biology project in the next 5 years. Although we have not received anything because of this bureaucratics, we expect this to happen at the end of the year, and latest next year. This promise that synthetic biology will be a very important area for development. And especially in China, we already launched 10 synthetic biology national projects in the last 5 years with funding of 400 million, which is that was much smaller compared with the UK scale. But we can see in the next what we call 13th 5-year project, we will have 5 times more than the first phase of synthetic biology project. So it must be very promising. And we at Tsinghua University have many colleagues already working on this area. Here we have Junbiao, and we also have Xie and many other colleagues from other parts of the country. So, and we also have some very young scientists and even some entrepreneurs to introduce what they have or what they want to do with synthetic biology, not just academically, but also scientifically.
China has a strategic roadmap. You've probably all seen it, laying out the next 5, 10, 20 years of developments in China. It also has an increasing investment. You can see about $30 million invested up to 2014, and as you just heard, 2 billion RMB over the next 5 years, which is an astonishing amount of investment at the basic research level. And what we're hoping is that there's then going to be the follow-on spin-outs of those technologies into new companies. If you look, China has had a history of investing specifically in the application space and also in the basic research space. Compared to other countries, it's spent a lot more in terms of development of technology than it has in the basic research. So I think that it's an opportune moment for China to pick up on all of the basic research that's been done in the universities and be able to get investment dollars in order to turn those into great commercial applications. The US has been spending a huge amount as well in synthetic biology. On this chart here, you can see $820 million invested between 2008 and 2014. Jun Biao was just telling me that his figures show $2 billion investment. So certainly a huge amount of investment in the US. Also investment in the UK. And when you look just at the addition of genetically modified products to the US economy, it's 2% of GDP currently. So $353 billion. So again, a very important product and a very important application area. I wanted to give you a little bit of a background as to why we think now is the time for synthetic biology. It's not, synthesis is not new, sequencing is not new. What's new is faster, better, cheaper. The ability to read DNA and write DNA, which has been falling at an exponential pace for the last 20 years. We think that we're at the beginning of a new industrial revolution, a fifth industrial revolution based on both reading and writing of DNA. And when you look at the number of publications on synthetic biology, you can see it's been increasing exponentially. This is data from PubMed. And when you look at the number of iGEM teams that have participated in the competition, it's also been increasing steadily since 2006. This is a picture from the iGEM competition last year. And when you look at the number of synthetic biology companies and how they're growing over time, this is from our data on our database, which you're welcome to sign up for. It's now over 280 companies that self-define as synthetic biology companies. And the definition that we use for the database for synthetic biology is trying to make biology easier to engineer. So it's a very broad definition, but it allows many different companies to fall under that umbrella. And when you look at the investment in the field over the last 5 years, you can see that it's been growing. 2015 was a record year for investment in synthetic biology companies. Almost $750 million was invested by the private sector into these companies, led by Editas Medicine, the gene editing company, with another couple of gene editing companies up there in the top 5, Intellia and CRISPR Therapeutics. But some clear synthetic biology platform companies like Ginkgo and Zymergen are up there in the top 10, as well as Twist Bioscience that we're going to hear from in a second. So a huge year for synthetic biology. One of the trends that we've been noticing is the investment from Silicon Valley tech luminaries into the biology space. So you'll recognize some of these founders from PayPal, Twitter, Yahoo, Netscape. What you may not know is that they've turned to biology. They're making a lot of investment in synthetic biology, and there are some of the companies at the bottom that they've been funding recently. This is a big theme that we're seeing in Silicon Valley, and I think we're going to see more broadly in London as the tech investors start to get interested in biotech. One of the big accelerators in Silicon Valley, Y Combinator, has over the last 2 years been investing in a number of synthetic biology companies, now almost 20 synthetic biology companies. They give out $120,000 and 3 months of mentorship to young teams that want to accelerate their idea and get traction in the market. IndieBio is also doing a similar project, both in San Francisco and in London, all of them supporting entrepreneurs, as is SymbiCity, based in the UK, which is a great place to fund and start a synthetic biology startup as well.
Thank you, John. Thank you, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. I have to say it's my first time in China. And also my first time giving this presentation. As John mentioned, we've just been acquired 2 months ago, and it's my first time giving the presentation. So hopefully you enjoy it. So we are Twist. Our mission is to power the synthetic biology revolution with cheaper, more scalable, high-quality DNA synthesis. We want to make cloning go away. We want to make cloning obsolete. And when we look at the DNA market, we see that it's divided to 2 groups. we have the buyers, and we have the makers. And all of them are unhappy. So it's a big market where everybody is unhappy. The buyers are unhappy because they can't get what they want. They can't get it in the time they want, they can't get it in the scale they want. The makers are unhappy because they have to clone. And I hate cloning. I did a lot of cloning in my day in the lab. It's slow, it doesn't work, it doesn't scale, it's just very limiting and annoying. They would love to synthesize DNA, but it's too expensive for them. So a big market where everybody is unhappy is a great market to disrupt. And you need a lot of DNA because when you try to develop biological application, you start by designing a sequence or many sequences. You then need to build the DNA you design from genes, about 1,000 base pairs, to parts, pathway, and the whole organisms. Then you need to test them, and most likely you need to do it many, many times. And the faster you can get this cycle moving, the more application you can build. And the main bottleneck is it's just too long for the build, it's too long, it's too expensive, it doesn't scale up. So for example, if you want to get one gene in 2 weeks, it's not a big deal. There are many companies, you can go online, you can get it made. But if you want to make 10,000 genes in 2 weeks, forget about it. You need to work with at least 3 companies to take you forever, you won't get some of your sequences. It's too difficult. So why is that? Currently, most traditional synthesis is being done on plates like this. So just a regular 96 well plate where you synthesize 1 oligo per well and about a gene or 2 genes per plate. That's how people work today. What we do in Twist, we print DNA on DNA chips like this. So our final chip will have 10,000 different wells, and in each well you have 121 micro wells. And if you can pass it around. Sure. So in each well we can print 121 oligos. So we can make about 1 million oligos in 1 chip, or about 10,000 genes. So that's 10,000x the throughput. And that really allows us to provide game-changing throughput, speed, cost, and quality for DNA synthesis. So last year in synbiobeta London, we announced our alpha program. And in our alpha program, we sold mainly genes. We started with genes up to 1.8 kb, perfect genes, NGS verified, both linear and clone, and we can do cloning to both our plasmid and to your plasmid, to custom plasmid. There is no sequence limitation. You can send us any sequence you want. And you can order from 1 sequence. Emily always joked that they will accept an A. If you want an A, we'll print an A. But from 1 gene to 10,000 genes, we'll get any order size. And again, at that time, industry-leading prices of 10 cents per base pair. So since we announced our alpha, till we finished it a few months ago, we already shipped 65 million base pair in that time period. Both easy genes and how to make genes. Most of them custom cloned to or our vector or to our customer vector, so we're very good at custom cloning. But not just gene, but also oligo pools for CRISPR work, and I'll talk a lot about that later, and variant libraries. And we had strong engagement from customers from all over the world, but mainly the US and the UK.
It's my first trip to China, and probably the first question is, why is the FBI here, right? So just a little bit of background very quickly. So as John mentioned, I'm part of the Weapons and Mass Destruction Directorate in the Biological Countermeasures Unit. So I'm a supervisory special agent there. Before joining the FBI, my background is in biochemistry and molecular biology. So I had several years of gene therapy research, and I used to work at Amgen, working in cancer research. So my job at the FBI is basically how to protect the life sciences, and that includes all of you. Real quickly, how many of you have heard of the Biological Weapons Convention? Any hands? Okay, so it's mostly the people that are part of this conference that are speakers. The reason why I bring that up is that the Biological Weapons Convention is an international treaty which China and the US are party to, that it's an agreement to prevent the misuse of biology, specifically for offensive purposes. And don't worry, I ask that question all the time, and it's usually the same, that I have a room full of biologists and they've never heard of it before. But the interesting thing is that you are all obliged to obey it. You are all responsible to prevent the misuse of biology. You're already doing that in a sense, but here's a challenge. The division that I'm part of is one of the newest, it's only 10 years old within the FBI, and the FBI is over 100 years old. But our division was established because in September 11th, 2001, we had those horrible terrorist attacks in the US, and as a matter of fact, we had another one just 2 days ago in Florida. But then 1 month after the 9/11 attacks, we had a series of letters that had anthrax spores that were sent in the mail, and 5 innocent people died from exposure. So the job from my division is how do you prevent the misuse of biology for something like that? But the challenge is that whenever we talk about security in biology, it's always focusing right away to dangerous viruses, Ebola, smallpox, but that's not what you all do. So why am I here? It's how do we look at taking care of biology in the future, what you all are doing here in China is absolutely important, absolutely powerful, absolutely beneficial. But how do we look at security in this space? I think everything is going to be happening in synthetic biology is going to be successful. If you believe that too, then we have some very important questions. If it's not dangerous bacteria or viruses, then what are some of the things we have to be concerned of? And I'll give you some hypotheticals.
Intellectual property. How can we promote best practices in the protection of intellectual property? Does synthetic biology represent a unique challenge around intellectual property? And are there any parallels or lessons learned from other industries? So I'd like you to consider those around intellectual property as well as considering what Ed just talked about in terms of biosecurity and the value of the biotechnology industry in keeping it safe. But so why don't we just go along and just do brief introductions and as they particularly relate to these topics.
For you, the dining carriage offers all kinds of drinks and food. You are always welcome to come. You can get hot water from the electric water boilers at any time. If you would like to learn more about the service facilities and their use methods, please refer to the travel service guide or ask your attendants.
Mola, mola,